Do you all see this as kind of a replay of the Trans-Texas corridor in a way? I mean, maybe in a smaller fashion?
You know, I can't speak to that, but there are ladies here that can.
Yeah, I think there's some similarities that are pretty glaring. Of course, the eminent domain issue has been big at the top of the list for legislative reform. It's gone through several reforms, yet we still have pretty glaring abuses, which is why we're calling for state public hearings. Now, one of the things that happened on the corridors when we had public hearings, these were federal hearings that were required under NEPA laws. But in the process of those public hearings, a lot more people and the press got educated about what was going on, and they heard these very personal stories. This is what's needed now. We need to understand what is going on with people in the state and what they're facing. And I personally feel that this is one more you can chalk up to this administration being completely, utterly willing to leverage private resources to bolster a permanent incumbency under Rick Perry. You all know how we feel, the independents, about Rick Perry. I'm not going to leave him out of this press conference. But I really think that the similarities are very glaring. And you watch, if Denbury is overturned, and we get, you know, the state turns their back on us, there will be a movement of people, ordinary citizens. We're just regular folks standing up here, 3 women with some other women around the state, and we're not going to put up with these abuses. We didn't do it before, and we're not going to do it again.
When you say this administration, you're talking about this Governor Rick Perry's administration?
Absolutely.
And I want to go back. We talked about bullying. I think the landowners are not the only ones who've been bullied. I don't want to paint the picture that the judge in Lamar County or the people at the Railroad Commission are folks who are like, let's let TransCanada do this. I think that basically what's happened is TransCanada, in their bravado, has gone to these judges saying, we have the right, and basically kind of setting the stage that don't question us. So I don't think, I think my judge in Lamar County is a great guy. I think that he was basically told, you will condemn this because we have the right. Well, there was no precedent. No one had pushed back at that juncture. So, you know, I was a Girl Scout and a cheerleader. Okay, so I have faith that people are going to do the right thing. So I don't want to condemn people who got caught up in the same kind of bullying. And I would bet you dollars to donuts that a lot of these judges who basically were, I assume it's a piece of paper, you know, condemned this land and assigned 3 people to a special commission, did it not out of ill will, but just because they were kind of told they needed to do it, or they had to do it.
This is another similarity with the corridor issue. You had, you know, county judges, county officials, just kind of the state officials riding roughshod over them, and they really had very little power to do anything about it. But they did eventually stand up with us, and that made a huge difference. You've got rural Texas, you know, being ridden roughshod over again, and this is a history with this administration. We understand there are tensions. You know, people need their pipelines, and they're going to get their pipelines, and they have their pipelines. But this is a case in which there absolutely should be more oversight and a lot more questions asked about this. We're not going to roll over. We're not going to roll over on this one, I promise you.
Have y'all drafted any kind of legislation to submit and gotten a sponsor yet that would introduce this in the next session? Because it seems like you'd have to go legislative to bring up any kind of state.
No, I haven't heard about that. The only involvement I've had with the state senator was with Senator Eltife, and we went and visited with him as a group a few months ago, and it was just jaw-dropping to see him go, really? Is that what's happening to our constituents? It's like the word hasn't reached these people, you know, in power. So his recommendation was, more of us need to know about these stories. So my recommendation is that we find a way to get a hearing in Austin through one of the special committees that deals with energy or natural resources. And those things are in the works. But they're, you know, those are months away. It doesn't help me when they say they want to start constructing it by March the 1st.
To be fair, Representative Olivieri, who heads up the Natural Resources and Management Committee in the House, has been responsive. They have not called for hearings yet. So we're hoping and praying. And we believe there'll be more officials that will step forward when they see that the media is really following this now in Texas.
What sort of farm do you have? What do you grow or raise?
We raise, well, we have a little herd of, cows that have their own names. My dad's a large animal veterinarian, so you got to think about that. The main revenue source for the farm is production crops, wheat, soybeans, and corn, the big three.
And is your name in these press releases the correct spelling there?
Yeah, Julia, middle name Trigg, Crawford, and I go by Julia Trigg. That's what my dad calls me, so like Betty Sue, Julia Trigg.
What's your dad's name?
Richard Crawford. He's a retired veterinarian, proud class of 1955 from Texas A&M. That great school over in College Station.
He needs to call Rick.
He says
Rick was a yell leader.
The Ags need to stick together on this, but on our side. Did you want us to have
Jessica Ellison, I work with Texans for Accountable Government. I don't have much more to add that these beautiful, talented women have not already spoken about. I am a sixth-generation Texan. I was raised on land that's been in my family for 150 years, and that happens to be 300 yards away from where the pipeline is set to go in. When I first heard about the pipeline, I instantly thought about, how I would feel if it was on my property. And the thought, the more I learned about the project, really the thought made me sick to my stomach. The safety hazards, the abuses of power are sort of terrifying to me as a landowner in Texas, that if they were to come to that land that means so much to me, that my brother farms, that any company could just say, we have the power to be able to take this from you, and before I have any recourse at all, they've condemned the land. There's no, I would then have to take out money to pay a lawyer to go and take time off of work and go out of my, leave my family to have to fight for the land that's rightfully mine from a company that may or may not even have the legal right to be able to take it. And I think that that's wrong, and I think that Texans think that that's wrong, and I think that we should be causing a stink about it. When I first got involved with the Keystone XL, I read something that made my jaw kind of drop. There was this place in southern Rusk County where the pipeline actually, the path of the pipeline is in the Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer, and where the intake to the Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer and a fault line that's been active as recently as 1980 actually intersect. And they called that area an area of low consequence. And I don't understand how that could be low consequence, except for maybe low political consequence, because they didn't feel as though the people in that area would be able to stand up and do anything about it. And we are standing up, and we're not going to let that. We're not going to let a foreign company, take our land if it's not for the common good. I'm okay with eminent domain as long as it's for a purpose that actually serves the common good, but not for private profits by a foreign company.
Here's an interesting.
What county are you from?
I'm from Upshur County, right on the corner of Upshur and Wood County.
Talking about there are times when I think common carriers is a valid button someone should be able to wear, and taking land for it. But here's an issue that I have to kind of work through my head. TransCanada, when asked if they will basically tell us what they're going to put through the pipeline, they say it's proprietary. Okay, something is in proprietary, and we don't have to tell you. Okay, so something that's proprietary is something that has a patent or a trade secret or gives whoever has it a competitive edge. Okay, so they're saying we don't feel like we have to tell you because it's something that's special. On the other hand, so assume that's kind of like formula for Coca-Cola. That's a proprietary product. On the other hand, TransCanada is saying, but we are a common carrier, and we have the right to take your land because we're delivering something that's good for the everyman. You can't do both. You can't be shipping Coca-Cola through a pipeline, taking land, saying it's for the everyman. I mean, you can't play both sides of that. I've actually asked for the material safety data sheets, which is something you're supposed to give. I have not been given them. I want to know what's coming under my water source and across my land.
Y'all done?
We have temporarily. Maybe calling you back later if you have time.
We could stop. We could talk for hours, ranting about Rick Perry or whatever. Couldn't we all?
I'm talking to
All right, well, listen, thanks for coming.